This is To the Front. Tools for today's top agents.
Welcome back to episode number 6 of To the Front. Hey, I'm going to throw out a few terms to you, and I want to know, does this strike fear in you? Does it excite you? Does it confuse you? Okay, here we go. I'm going to throw them out there. Accounting, P&L, balance sheet, ROI, QuickBooks. All of those words, right, scream financials. And, all the time I'm talking to agents, and one of the common things that I hear is that, I've got to do my taxes, or I've got to get this over to my accountant, or I'm not quite sure if I'm making money on a team member, or I'm not sure if I'm making money on a marketing source. And almost always when they're talking about their financials, there's a state of confusion, sometimes maybe even intimidation, right? And what I can't help to think is that their financials are screaming something to them. But what do? Sometimes they ignore them, and maybe you're sitting there and you've ignored them. And I get it. You're trying to run your business, but on today's episode, I want to talk about your financials. Now, listen, you don't want to take advice from me, right? So I've got two amazing guests that I'm going to bring on to the deck. In fact, I'm going to add them on right now. I want to introduce Micah Cannon and Devin from Club Capital. What's up, guys? How are you?
What's going on, man? Good to see you.
Seeing you,
Adam. Always a pleasure, brother.
Buddy, guys, it's been a long time. That's actually not been a long time. It's not been too long since we've been together. But man, dude, excited to have you guys on.
Yeah, it's all Vegas. I think I feel like the last time I see anybody, it has to do with Vegas. But
it's always Vegas, right?
Yeah.
It's always yeah, Vegas. Oh man, Vegas. Okay. Yeah. Hey, if you guys don't know Devin and Micah, you've been hiding under a rock somewhere. Devin is the VP of Sales of Club Capital. Micah is the CEO, and Club Capital has been around a long time, helping lots of agents and businesses get their books right. But it's not just get the numbers right. It's to help to understand their numbers, and so that they can be better business owners, better runners of their business, better operators, have more insight into how should you hire, how should you market, all based around the financials, right? And so when we dreamed up this podcast, I said, man, I want to have these guys on, because I've seen businesses skyrocket when they actually look at their financials, not from an obligation, they got to do it once or twice a year, but they actually lean into them and help their financials start to help them to run their day to day. So how'd I do, Mike and Devin? Did I say that right? Did I display Club Capital pretty well?
I don't think we do that. That's not us.
That's not you all. No accounting.
No. Wrong vendor. No, I think that sums it up pretty well. Yeah, I mean, that's where we started. I think there's obviously two sides of it. I think a lot of people will think about financials a lot just as from a tax perspective, and I think that's what a lot of business owners do. It's a checkbox thing, right? There's so many things to do as an owner of a business that you kind of run through it in a checkbox fashion of I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, right? And financials is normally, I think, as a small business owner, just looped into as I need a CPA, right? It's just like
Sure.
I think that's like what I need, right? And so a lot of agents will have a CPA, or there's a CPA in their family, or they kind of like initially check that box of like, all right, I've got a CPA relationship, awesome. Right. And then on to other things. Right. And so what that typically means is you end up working with some sort of tax firm and CPA firm, which is just kind of like what I think everybody knows it as, right? A CPA firm, a tax firm. And when we started Club Capital, we obviously started a tax firm, but taxes are kind of a division of what we do. A lot of what we did at Club Capital is start really an advisory firm that's focused on the entire financial picture, that answers a lot of the questions you were, talking to there. Like a lot of those questions aren't typically, talked about or asked about at a CPA firm.
Not at all.
Financials, bookkeeping, day to day. How am I doing? What's the bottom line like this month versus last month versus this year? Just typically most CPA firms, not that they all don't do this, but most CPA firms don't focus on that. They focus on tax, and which is the after the fact thing of how much did you profit, and then let's go deal with the tax ramifications of that, and just hopefully make it to where you're paying the least that you need to, that you're obligated to, from a legal perspective. So when we started the firm, it was with that in mind. I mean, my background, I'm actually not an accountant or a CPA. So, I didn't just go, you know what, let's go start a tax firm.
Let's do it.
It's obviously super important. I know Devin refers to it as like cart before the horse. If you don't have a good grasp on the financial side, on like how the day-to-day is going, on what the bottom line is, talking about taxes is a little like, it's hard, right? Cart before the horse. Like you got to know what the bottom line is before you talk about like, saving taxes and stuff like that. So a lot of business owners will start, brand new business, and they sign up with a CPA and say, all right, I want to save on taxes. And, a lot of times when you start a new business, there's no taxes because you're not making any money. So
that's right.
Like, let's focus on the money part first, and then get into the tax side. But yeah, anyway, long-winded version to say, yeah, I think you got that right.
I think I got that right. Yeah, totally. And for either of you, I guess I want to come right out of the gate. I want to ask a question. I don't know. Like when I talk to agents, sometimes when we start talking about financials, right? Like kind of Michael, what you said, sometimes it's more rear view mirror than it is looking out front, right? They're just trying to figure out what's happened already. And, there's very little pushing forward, right? But the sense that I get is that, maybe they're just an afterthought. So I guess my question is, do you think that's intimidation, that agents, business owners are intimidated by their financials? Could be that they're lazy, I just want to do that, right? Or could it be just ignorance? Like, hey, I got in this to help insure people's lives. I didn't get in this to work numbers. So tell me, that could be Micah or Devin. Tell me what you've heard from agents.
Let me start with this one, Mike, because I've had this pleasure and opportunity being at Club Capital almost 6 years now in my role, and helping so many agents come onto our platform to get their numbers right. And if you get your numbers right, you can have a better experience with your taxes at the end of the year. I definitely wouldn't say it's laziness. Maybe a handful of people here and there that they know that they got to do something and they just don't do it. But doesn't that kind of go back to intimidation, right? It's either I'm not familiar with that corner of my business, so I'll shy away from it, or I'll hire somebody like a CPA firm, as Micah mentioned, but they're thinking taxes end of year, and they're not thinking about that horse that needs to pull that cart throughout the year. And I think you can sprinkle in a little bit of ignorance as well. When I started way back when with Club Capital, I had an agent tell me about the community that he's a part of. You're going to run into really 3 different personas of agents. You've got people that own their job, they own their business, or they're entrepreneurs, right? And I think that kind of could be, it can really be summed up as, are these insurance agents or these business owners?
Yeah.
And that's going to be the mindset of who you're talking to. And those that are more business owners or more entrepreneurial spirited, and maybe someone that's got a background in business, versus a lot of the agents that we know that maybe were some of the top salespeople at agencies, or maybe they're coming from other industries where they were top salespeople. And that carrier came and tapped them and said, hey, we think that we can build you a career here selling insurance. And it's just a blind spot for them. And it's one that, maybe getting right into it. A lot of agents start with an assignment, so they've already got some revenue that they can bank on coming in, and they don't really need to map it out as, detail oriented as maybe starting a brand new business, or rather a scratch agency. You probably got to put a little bit more insight into kind of your numbers and your budget and forecast. So a little bit of all of the above, but certainly maybe just a focus on more of a production and a sales standpoint, and the numbers come at the end of the year from a tax filing perspective.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like ignorance in there. The ignorance, it just has such a negative connotation. So I don't
Sure.
know if I want to like necessarily say that, but it's not trying not to know,
Yeah.
what things can,
Fair.
it's not like, hey, yeah, I don't care. Um, but just, I think very fair. Just, if financials or business ownership, wasn't in your background, you're not necessarily exactly sure, what consistent financials can do to help you.
Sure.
Totally fair, right? And so I think a lot of people come in as like, look, I've, kind of try and simplify it of like, all right, I got a small business, I got money coming in, I primarily have, three employees, when you're maybe starting out, three employees and some marketing. Hey, it's not too hard to understand what the margins are, like even conceptually, right?
Right.
And hey, I've got a bank account and it seems to be going up every month, so that's good. Right? So I mean, I think it just like starts there of like things seem fine, right? Um, and then they just don't kind of take it from there. Of like, what are financials going to tell me if I don't know how to like read them to begin with? What are they going to tell me that to help me make decisions? And so, I think it's just there's so many things going on, to run your own business that, um, a lot of times when things are going okay, not even to say perfect, right, but okay, it's just not something that's focused on when there's actually true opportunity there. You don't need to get your financials in order, only when things are not good, right?
Right.
You need to make sure that they're in order, at all times, right? It's not like, hey, we're making tons of profit. You don't see companies just go fire their accounting team or their CFO when like the money's going well, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's just knowing, what to, how to read them, how to make decisions off of them, how to know when something's good, how to know when something's bad, and be able to make decisions from there. But there's no like direct one reason besides, normally what we find is that, so many agents will speak to this. It's not a focus area of like when they get appointed to be an agent. The business side of an agency is not like focused on, and just kind of thrown in and focusing on sales is the primary focus,
Mhm.
right? So this just kind of takes an initial backseat, like I think for everybody as they start.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I would agree with that. I think maybe Devin said blind spot. Maybe for some, it's
Yeah.
might be more of a blind spot than others, right? And I'll tell you guys, as I talk to agents every day, there is a pretty clear line when I'm talking to an agent who's got a growing, successful business. Often, not every time, okay, but often they will speak in numbers. All right. They will speak in some specifics that I do feel like they have a grasp of their business as an entire entity, right? Versus when I talk to an agent who's, just starting to grow, maybe new, maybe in a season of struggle, right? What I hear from them more is this is how I feel. This is kind of what my gut is saying, right? And there's nothing wrong with going by your gut, even though I've said it before and I'll keep saying it. I think your heart will lie to you. Your heart's a liar. All right. There's numbers don't lie, right? So as I see agents become more mature, and again, I don't want to put a negative connotation on it, but when they start to grow in their agency and start to get some time under their belt where they're not so worried about making payroll, they start to sort of speak more in numbers, and it tells them they have a good grip on their financials. So I guess here's my question: when you're seeing agents that maybe are struggling a little bit, understanding the financials of their agency, what are the things that they don't have in place that you find just over and over? And I know every agent's different, but just in general, what are the top one or two things that they're just missing that they don't have that can really help them?
I'll maybe start, and Devin, if you want to jump in. I mean, I feel like you mentioned some of this, like knowing your numbers type of thing. I would say KPIs, right?
Yep.
First off, knowing what your KPIs are. uh, so key performance indicator, or metrics, right? So a lot of agents will have a good handle on the sales side of the house in terms of what the metrics are typically, right? And it's just about trying to take it from there, right? Sales are one thing, they're not everything. And sales, a lot of times, what can fix all problems? Sales, right? Well,
Sales, yeah.
maybe, right? Maybe, but is it fixing? If it's costing you too much to bring in the sales, and the bottom line, the profit's not there, like, it's what's it worth, right? Are we only, paying to have more sales to go, on a travel trip, but there's no actual money to take home, right? What are we doing this for, right?
Right.
We just see like a lack of like financial KPIs, right? We'll talk a lot in numbers around like, just on the, say, the front run side, right? Which is super important. But not taking, not like kind of adding even into their like, I don't know, just into their dialogue, like, what are the other KPIs? What are the financial KPIs? How much did my revenue grow this year? How much did my profit margin grow this year? And kind of bringing that in, not to say in everyday conversation to like boast about that, right? But like for me, that's like, I mean, obviously I'm jaded here, right? This is like what I do is what I love, but like that's why I love numbers. I've always loved math, is because they kind of don't lie, right? They are what they are.
Sure.
And so like I love to see the improvement on them, right? So, hey, did sales grow? Great. Did bottom line grow? Did profit margin grow? Like, are we being more efficient at, how we're bringing in revenue? Did we do it with less marketing dollars? That'd be great, right? So just looking at different measures of success, measures of efficiency in the organization, rather than just like some of the top line numbers.
Yeah.
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 Micah said KPIs, and sometimes even before KPIs, we'd speak to agents that don't have financials, like they don't have an income statement ready at any given point in the year, or a balance sheet or a cash flow statement. And really, that's the blueprint of any business, right? That tells you if you're doing well or you're not. And that can lead to other things as well, right? Getting into a brand new business, maybe you've been salaried at 100K for years, and now you're a self-employed business owner, and the way you get tax changes. So we've had also a lot of conversations with folks that aren't paying quarterly taxes, and a lot of times I think the pinch comes for new business owners when they get that first real big tax liability and saying, "Oh my gosh, like $30,000-$40,000 owed the IRS? What the heck is going on? That's never
For sure.
happened." And it's because they haven't paid quarterlies down to offset that. And the reason why is because they didn't have that clarity to begin with. They didn't have those numbers or those KPIs showing the type of profit that they were growing throughout the year, and being able to make that conscious business owner decision to pay that in, or even just answer the question of why. And we've spoken with a lot of agents that they have a CPA, and that CPA gets them their tax vouchers and they pay it, and that's good, but they don't know the why kind of behind that. It's just something I'm checking off because that's what the CPA told me to do. Better than the alternative, of course, but the numbers and the KPIs are really that lifeblood of the organization, or at least for the CEO or the CFO, which happens to be the agent, right? So it's
For
a
sure.
really important tool set that they need, that a lot of times they maybe don't even have to begin with.
Yeah. So it's not like they have that every agent also is just a skilled, CFO, financial minded, whatever, right? They're probably pretty good at sales. They've demonstrated, however they acquired their agency. It depends on which company you're with. They're probably has some decent business acumen, right? But all of the different components that it takes to run a successful business, I would have to assume that, I think you're right. They just, a lot of them haven't done it, and they come and I've owned some businesses, guys, in my life, and I've gotten some of those tax bills. When that certified letter comes, that's not a good day at the house right there, right? It's like, honey, we're not going out to eat. We just got a certified IRS letter. That's the real deal, right? And I've seen agents go into panic mode. I don't know how to deal with this or that, and I oftentimes they'll start getting the books in the house in order, or they sometimes try to ignore those kinds of things. But here's what I love about Club Capital. Club Capital is helping agents make sense of all this stuff. Guys, I've been with FrontRunner now for 8 years. 8 years. 8 years. It's crazy. Now we started building 8 years ago, right? We've really been on the scene about 6. But man, I would say from the first year I met you guys, and just instantly I was like, well, I don't know of anybody else doing what Club Capital does. Then I started, as more and more agents I talked to, the ones who really understood their financials, had them in order, were using Club Capital. And I said, all right. So there's something to this, right? And so again, as we've built a relationship over the years, man, I'm a big fan. So I'm an agent. I'm sitting here and I'm like, all right, you're talking about financials, and it makes me squirm a little bit. I don't, I've got a CPA or a bookkeeper or something like that. Can somebody walk me through how Club Capital comes alongside and helps? Kind of walk me through it. I pretend I'm an agent who's kind of got a little bit of a mess on my hands. Maybe not a huge mess, just I don't have a lot of things in order. I buy into the fact that financials matter, that they're going to help not only to understand my business, to keep me out of trouble, but they're going to help me grow. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But how does Club Capital come alongside agents and help, and really any business, and help them to make sense of it, straighten it out, and then help it be a catalyst for growth?
You want me to take it, Devin?
Yeah, why not? Go ahead. Start this
He's
one
gonna
off.
see. Yeah, Micah, can you still sell? Can you still sell this?
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Well, so I would say first, you don't have to feel that way, right? And it's. I think financials are oftentimes, just a huge cause for anxiety for people, right? I mean,
For
just
sure.
in general, and it's definitely a lot of times not talked about, right? So, a lot of people might be nodding their head here, and a lot of other people might think, no way, that person's probably got their financials totally covered, right? But they might not, right? It's because
Right.
it's something that you just kind of swept under the rug for a while, and it does create a lot of anxiety, creates a lot of the unknown, and it's just not something that has to be that way. And so what we try and do is, we've got a couple of different kind of packages in terms of the ways in which you can work with us. Whether that's kind of from a kind of a starter level of we call it transactional, which is just kind of like making sure that everything's happening, right? All the transactions are there, and that we're in essence running the books, right? We run the books for you, which means we hook up to everything that you got, right, from banks to credit cards, and we're managing everything that's coming in and coming out, and we can we specifically work with a number of the largest carriers and stuff to be able to make sure that we break down the comp statements that are coming in too, to be able to show agents how much they're making per line of business, which is super helpful. A lot of people might track that, a little bit on Excel and things like that, but we actually bring it like into the books, so you can see like how much
Wow.
you're making on a P&L, and say auto, fire, life, health, bonuses, things like that.
Mhm.
And we do that every single month, right? So the goal is to make it so you have financials every single month that you're looking at. And then
Which is a
obviously,
huge start. Sorry to interrupt. That's a huge start to say,
it's a huge
agents say,
start.
hey, yeah, I've got my financials. Yeah, look,
Right.
check it out. Sorry, Micah, go ahead.
No. I mean, look, the first part of this is just like, transparency into your numbers. Like first, like it starts with what are they, right? Do I even have access to them? Do I have someone that I can even say, hey, what was my, P&L for last month? And it's, readily available instead of, oh man, I got to go find someone that can do this. And then I got to have this conversation. And then, oh man, they don't know anything about insurance or anything like that. Right. I mean, it's just,
Mhm.
we've built a firm like very, specific to, to the insurance space. We actually started on the State Farm side, and, just to like incredibly know, the businesses, so that it's an easier conversation and transition to have, rather than trying to go to just kind of like a any provider maybe out there and saying, hi, I'm an insurance agent, let me tell you about my business, right? It's
Yeah.
just so much, you're starting so much further back in the conversation rather than maybe starting here and moving forward.
Absolutely.
And so, it's easier than you think, especially with a provider like us, to be able to kind of have that conversation. We generally know where you are. We work with about 1,000 agents across the country now, and so
Wow.
we work with agents like you, wherever you
Yeah.
are, right, and go from there. So there's a couple of different plans. Anything from the transactional side to what we call the CFO side, right? Agents. One of the jobs that any small business owner has, agents included, is being the CFO of their agency, right? You're the head sales officer, you're the head marketing officer, you're everything, but you're also the CFO. And so there are definitely just a lot of people are pretty keen to this. You need to learn to be able to delegate and outsource things that you either don't have time to do, don't have all the skills to do, or to people that can do it better than you,
Yeah,
faster than you,
for sure.
cheaper than you, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what we are in the financial space. You're the CFO. We're not going to be your CFO, but we'll provide you the tools and the resources you need to actually make you successful in that role,
Yeah.
right? And so we'll provide you the financials. We'll provide you kind of monthly meetings with our advisors on our team to review the numbers. And like on the CFO side, it's not, you talked about earlier, it's not just the rear view mirror, but it's looking forward. That's what a lot of people don't know about financials, is that bookkeeping, which people primarily refer to as financials, is just bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is the rear view mirror, right? It's what
That's
happened, right? Something happened last month or yesterday, and it's recorded into some account, right? And then you look at it. Well, CFOs, of organizations are very much want to know, great, but like, how does the past tell me what's going to happen in the future?
Right.
And so that's what CFO services really does, is tries to help agents really get ahead of like what's going to be coming. Where do you want to be? How can we help project that into the future? Which is a very personal, individualized, service, because everybody's got, we might work with 1,000 insurance agents, but everybody is unique and different in terms of what their financial picture might be personally, what they want to achieve personally, the amount of cash they want to make personally and bring home. And so, the goals of an agency are definitely not all the same.
Yeah.
And, being able to actually build out a plan that is for you is super powerful. And so that's kind of everything on the client advisory side. We make it so that you don't have to do much besides, hook up a lot of stuff, to
I like hearing that. If I'm an
we
agent, I like
manage.
hearing that. Don't worry, I've got it. Don't worry about it. Just hook up a few
And then
things.
there's the whole tax side of the house as well, right? So there's the client advisory side, and then there's the tax side, which goes from everything from making sure that we can file both the personal and business taxes, as well as do tax advisory, meaning like taxes should not be a once a year thing that you think
Yeah.
about, but let's plan for taxes. Let's make sure that you're having questions answered throughout the year. We proactively do some tax planning throughout the year. Obviously, there's a lot. Our team is, I don't know, having 25 tax planning calls a day right now, probably.
That's right.
End of year, trying to make sure that we can have some of those plans before the end of the year, because a lot of times end of year you need to try and do some things prior to December 31st to possibly maximize your like tax deductions and things like that. So so that's how you can work with us. It's not hard. It's being able to actually go from being a little bit scared, a little bit anxious about this, to saying what am I going to do here. It's easier than you'd think.
Yeah. When we're talking with agents that are considering coming on board to Club Capital, being our newest member, we kind of coach them on, look, we can help you with the tool set, right? That's what our team does. We'll give you those tools. And if you're intimidated about, trying to interpret financials that we give you, we can help you with those skill sets. And those skill sets will take you far as the CEO and CFO of your agency. So the one thing that we can't bring to the table, which is the third piece to mix in, is just that mindset, right? And I think a lot of agents do want to grow beyond the insurance agent or the agent that owns their job rather than their business. And so, with these different package levels that we have, even with our transactional core package, there's clarity, there's perspective. It's not just here's your income statement that you're used to ripping
Sure.
out of a QuickBooks account. I mean, it's built for the agency owner. As Micah mentioned, it breaks down where your revenue is coming from, so you can really understand, if I'm investing more in team or marketing over the last 3 quarters, am I seeing new business growth? Because if you're just looking at total revenue, you've got your renewals and your bonuses mixed in with that, and it can sometimes be misleading. So there's a ton of perspective in the report, and they're very easily obtainable. It's an online dashboard. It's very
Yeah.
intuitive.
It's great,
You
by
just
the way.
go
I've
in
seen
and
that
go,
dashboard, Devin. It's awesome.
yeah, you just go and you say, give me my year-to-date financial performance and compare it to last year, so you can see those trends,
Yeah.
right? And so you can not only get that rear view mirror perspective, but then you can also do a lot of foresight, right?
Foresight.
Learn from how the agency has been performing, and really get a crystal ball into what you can expect it to perform from a top line and bottom line standpoint, and then place your decisions along a roadmap because of that power, knowledge, and numbers that you have.
Yeah. So I'm hearing Club Capital is going to meet you wherever you're at, right? Wherever you're at in your financial journey in terms of how you're operating your business. You guys are going to help them to have the essential things in place that they need, whether it's from the bookkeeping side, accounting side, tax side, that kind of thing. But then you're going to take it a step further. Is that you're going to say, hey, we're going to get all these things in place, right? We're going to give you great confidence that when you go to bed at night, the IRS is not going to come and steal your puppy. Okay, you're fine. All right. And I don't know why I said puppy. That just first thing popped in mind. I don't know. But then you're going to help them to understand the financials, right? You're going to help to understand what they're looking at. How do they compare it? And then here's my guess. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, Devin. Agents become better at running their business from a growth standpoint. Because if they understand how they're doing year over year, they understand maybe some things that contributed to it, they're better equipped to make decisions. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, 100%, right? And I like to use this analogy with agents. It's like your business, you're trying to grow it. You're trying to make it more healthy. You're trying to run it more cash rich. What we can do for it is be the gym and the personal trainer, right?
Mm,
Show up when we need you to show up and provide us some documents, but our team's in there polishing the equipment. It's ready for you to use. And we've got personal trainers that come in and can help shape that meal plan or that workout plan to get you to whatever that, goal or target that you have for the next 12 months or 2 years or 3 years. I mean, that's the beauty of the numbers and the ability to forecast with those numbers once you have that blueprint in place.
yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
I think you'd be a fool if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, let's just say that you're even if you are pretty good with numbers in your financials, right? Maybe that was part of your background. You still probably behoove you to think about a tool like Club Capital. Why? Right? Well, as an agent owner, you're there to grow your agency and to insure lives, right? To help people to protect that which is most important, right? And my general manager at some of these other businesses I own has told me to read a book. I'm a big reader, but I haven't read this book. I guess the book's called Who Not How. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that book, but I've not read it, but I am assuming that it's about, when you're thinking about how to get something done, it might be best to say who needs to do it versus how you should do it, right? And so if you're an agent listening, I got to tell you, I think Club Capital is the who for you. That rhymes, doesn't it? Is the who for you. That's y'all's next tagline, man. If y'all need t-shirts, I got you. All right. They're the next who. So I'm assuming it's so how long does it take to get started with you guys? I'm an agent, I'm listening. I said, boom, let's do it. I guess they could visit your website, right? Which I think I've got it up here correctly. Is it club.capital? Is that right?
That's right.
All right.
That's fancy.
Fancy.
Like
Did you see how that slid in right there?
That
Club.
You've been working on that the whole
right?
time, though.
So I guess they could visit that, but what's the best way for an agent to get started with you guys?
Yeah, visit our website. There's plenty of opportunities to click to schedule a consultation. depending on, what industry or carrier you're with. You'll kind of go through a little question tree, and then you'll get set up with one of our advisors that, we just don't want to take your order. We want to sit down with you. We want to advise you. We want to understand what's going on, what's making you tick, what are your goals, so that way we could help you find that right, package for your business to get you from wherever you're at point A to whatever that next point B is, and then on to point C.
Got it. So come to your website, sign up for that sort of discovery call. What's the time frame, right? If it's to be fully onboarded with you guys, from, hey, we just met, to, hey, we're best buddies and you've got my business. Like, what's that time frame look like?
Yeah, great question. So I think, and Micah, correct me on this, but a lot of times we can have somebody come on board, get their onboarding call scheduled, where we connect to their accounts and get any, backdated documents that need, if we're going to be bringing year-to-date financials forward, in about a short turnaround of 30 to 45 days generally. But we got people covered. There's people that have come on board, Adam, that go back 2 years. They haven't done their taxes in 2 or 3 years. So we play catch up for them and take some of that stress off of their shoulders that they've been carrying for a little while. And even then, it doesn't take that long to get the ball rolling. And once you're kind of through that onboarding phase, it's rinse and repeat. It's month in and month out. It's put a 5-minute calendar block every month towards the end of the month when you've got your agency comp and deducts, and just reminder to upload those to our team so we can incorporate them into the accounting work, and then wait for that email to come out that your newest set of financials have been published, and always make sure to have your next consultation call scheduled with your client advisor or CFO specialist.
Yeah. Seems great to me. Easy enough. Hey, as you're looking into 2025, do this. We serve, I guess I was looking the other day, probably somewhere in the realm of 6,000 agents and team members collective. Right. And, I'm pretty choosy about what I choose to promote. Right. But I truly can't tell you, I cannot recommend Club Capital more. All right. It really is something that you ought to look at in 2025 if you're not already one of their clients. Because it's going to get your agency financials right, even if they're already right. It's going to take it off of your plate and give you more time for growing your agency. But even if you're good at it, at financials, I think there's going to be things that they're going to be able to help advise you on that'll make you a better agency owner. So, final thoughts, Devin, Micah, anything else you want to say to our crew?
I would just say, first off, thanks for having us on. For sure, it's been you've been a great friend, and partner over the last it's been 6 years,
6 years,
or so that we've probably known each other now. But and you guys have had an awesome rise on your end too. But I would just say, we'd love to, for anybody that this is resonating with, we'd love to be able to help. And the ultimate goal for us is just to make financials a little bit more of a spotlight. And we'd love to be able to help, but even if we're just the one that's kind of helping to bring this to the forefront, to make sure that maybe 2025 is the year that financials and getting a better understanding of them is something that kind of comes up the importance ladder a little bit. Then hopefully we've done our first job there, because understanding your financials and having clarity in them is the first step towards hopefully achieving what you're really trying to achieve, both in the agency and like personally. And so if we can be there to help, we'd love to.
Yeah. Good word. All right. Well, Devin, Micah, hey guys, thanks for your time. I know you guys are busy time of year, so that you've carved some time out for us, man. I'm grateful, guys.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hey, again, thanks again for joining us on To the Front. Episode number 7, I'm going to tell you something, is going to be a banger, right? Check out this title. Episode 7 is What You Don't Know About Your Team Members. Hey, you should know this, that there are things that are going on in your team members' lives that you have no idea. Right? There are things they're struggling with at home, hangups, addictions, things that are struggling with that as a business owner, you're like, well, that's a difference in personal and business. Well, that's true. But what if you as an agency owner could get insight into what they're struggling with, come alongside and bring incredible value to them. That's the next episode. We're going to bring on my friend Todd Johns. And so I can't wait for you to join us for that. So again, thanks, Devin. Thanks, Micah. Agency owners. Thanks, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Be blessed. See you next time.